momentsofclarity.tiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclarity.tiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hi, welcome back. And if you're just listening now, this is Moments of Clarity. I'm Tiffany Warner, licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today, it could be a trigger warning for some of our listeners. We're going to be talking about child abuse, sexual abuse, and some of the schools that some parents are sending their kids to in hopes to help them, but it's actually abusive. And on the line with me is actually somebody that went to that school, and she's the host of a TV show called Pieces of Victory. She was on a Netflix show called The Haunted, and they're talking about these things, conversion therapy and reform school and boot camp, things like that we don't realize what goes on behind the walls. That can even be heavier and more abusive than juvenile justice prison for kids. And I want to welcome back to Moments of Clarity, Jeneen Miller.
Hi, Tiffany.
So, Jeneen, there's a lot of things. I want to welcome callers to call in to 866-826-1340 if you want to join our discussion or give some feedback. 866-826-1340. So you have a book coming out called Pieces of Victory. And I want to talk a little bit about what that's about.
Yes. It is about my unfortunate experience in a lockdown residential program at Victory Christian Academy that was located in Ramona, California. It was also closed down in 1991 because the preacher did not have a license to run the program. It was also in the Los Angeles Times numerous times. He was also not fire code compliant. And then he moved the school and rebranded himself, but we could talk about that a little bit later. My story in my book, discusses the child abuse that took place in this residential program, and then I reflect back on a love story. So I connect the dots of how I ended up being locked into this residential program. So there's dark, there's light going on in my book.
Yeah, and I like when there's light and dark, like telling it how it is, because, we need to know the truth about these things. And unless people come out and talk about it, we don't know what goes on. And
right, go ahead.
And I'm thinking if it's from religion that is sponsoring these things, or some churches that people don't know either. And they're probably donating money for these things to continue. Exactly.
And I was, I considered myself a strong Christian. Before I entered the school, I was well respected by a private Christian school prior called Cornerstone Christian School in Camarillo. I had good grades in school. I went to church. I went to youth group. And, coming from a Christian standpoint, and when I write this book, I'm writing in present tense. So I'm a Christian in present tense as a 16-year-old girl. And I'm telling you my perspective as a Christian. And if you're a Christian reading my book, you will be disgusted and horrified at what goes on behind closed doors.
Because people don't expect that to happen. We have a caller. Go ahead. I was going to introduce a caller, but finish what you're saying.
Just a lot of people don't expect it to go on. You're putting your faith in, a Christian school, and you think that they're going to have, the best education and compassion, especially compassion, because to me that was what Christianity was all about, and there was nothing of the sort. It was nothing I have ever experienced
right.
from a congregation. It was just a shell shock to me.
We have a caller, Brian. Hi, Brian. Welcome to Moments of Clarity. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hi, Brian. Brian is Brian Cardoza, and he has a group, Survivor Nights, and he speaks out on child sexual abuse as well. Thank you so much for calling in, Brian.
Well, absolutely. Like almost any time you have a survivor come on, I always like to call and extend my gratitude for them for them coming out and speaking their truth. One of the things we learn in this industry is that when you speak your truth, you give other people permission to speak theirs, and it's those communications and those conversations that happen that allow healing and allow true recovery to happen. And I just wanted to call and say thank you for giving another person another avenue to tell their story and to speak their truth, and also to help bring it to the forefront for other people. There's not enough people out there talking about our stories and what happened to us as children or even as adults.
So true. Jeneen, did you have any conflict or controversy when you started to speak up about child abuse?
I was reluctant to talk about the child abuse, especially since my background is from parents that didn't believe in me.
Right.
And I went through therapy. I left home at 17. I went through therapy, and that helped. And I had a family take me in for about 6 months until I became an independent woman and left after 6 months. But I felt like I had support with that family. And as far as conflict of speaking my truth, there are survivors that have survived a Victory Christian Academy, and I'm sure that other survivors can relate to what I'm saying, that they are so brainwashed to think that this is the best thing that God ever did for them, and how dare I speak out and tell my truth. They are under the impression that without this program, they would be on the street, or they would be in jail, or they would be dead. And that's exactly what the preacher wanted to instill in us. So he did his job. That was part of the programming. And
yeah, can I? So, Jenny, again, thank you for just being you for most part. I just want to say, because I put it in my book, is that for survivors that are like that, so for me, my abuse started so early that my story really just became just Tuesday. You know what I mean? I didn't realize that what was going on was so bad, and if I hadn't been thrown out at 15, I don't think I would ever have realized how bad it was, because I'd have been brainwashed into the entire concept that this was, just punishment, or sex abuse was just something that happened to every 6-year-old. So I understand where you're coming from, and again, thank you for being brave enough to speak it out.
And Brian wrote a fantastic book called The Unexpected Victim that you can buy on Amazon. And and Brian would actually be a good guest on your show. Just saying. Oh,
that would be awesome. Yes, Brian, I would love to have you on my show, Pieces of Victory.
Yeah, just if Tiffany can, I don't want to ask Tiffany to do something she's uncomfortable with, but if you could just pass along my information, Tiffany, I would love to have these conversations on more of a regular basis. That's what we need to do to eradicate it.
Yes, of course I will. And thanks for calling in.
Yeah, absolutely. Jenny, once more, just thank you for being brave enough to do it. And I know it's probably just ad nauseum you've heard thank yous, but from the survivor community, every voice that comes forward just adds more power. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, and I'll look out for your book. It's called The Unexpected Victim. The Unexpected.
Yeah, and if you ever meet me, you realize why it's the unexpected victim. I'm sure Tiffany can tell you how how when you look at me, you don't think, well, there's a victim. So, but I will look forward to Tiffany's information, and thank you again, and keep kicking ass.
Well, on that note, what does a victim look like anyway?
Well, we all have stereotypes. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for calling
Yeah,
in.
have a good one.
We have another caller. Kenny. Hi, Kenny. Welcome to Moments of Clarity.
Okay, what does a victim look like? It is a very good question. I mean, normal people through life are victims of this, unfortunately. But to tell you the truth, what does a homeless person, I would say 9 out of 10 was a victim of this. So that's kind of, if you want to go, oh, look at the homeless person, you know, that's a result of this. But many people it is so widespread, just normal people, you would never expect it. You go, oh, they're so normal. They're so happening. They're so together. And this is a problem throughout society. Mm-hmm. But what I wanted to ask and I can't remember her name. What was your guest's name?
Janeen.
Janeen? Okay, you talked about the abuse that you had as a child, and then you were sent away to this boot camp. Were you sent away to the boot camp because you were like this really bad kid, or do you think it was possible that the fact that you were talking about being abused got you sent away?
That's a good question. I think it was a combination of both. It was because I was opening my mouth about being abused and causing family trouble, and also the way I was reacting. I was angry. I was definitely angry. And so they just assumed I was on drugs and drinking and, you know, out of control. But I was really...
And maybe you were as a result of the abuse, and then that's used as an excuse to get rid of you to hide the abuse.
Exactly.
Okay. On a related note, I'm going to try and segue this. Well, Cyndi Lauper does benefit shows once a year. It's called Home for the Holidays. And what it is the LGBTQ community, the members of the family that were kicked out for being gay and or lesbian and or, you know, whatever. This is to reunite them with the family, or at least give them something for the holidays because of what had happened to them. That's kind of on a related note, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that ties into James Swift, helpforteens.org, because that's exactly what he's trying to do along those lines, or when parents are kicking their kids out for being gay on the street. Now they're sex trafficking themselves. They are desperate. They have nowhere to go. He wants to build a shelter. So it definitely ties in with that. It will tie in with that. So, yeah.
Wow. Thanks for the info, Kenny, and thanks for sharing and for calling in.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Kenny.
We have another caller. Hi, Joe. Welcome to Moments of Clarity.
Hey, Tiffany. How are you?
Good. How are you?
A little under the weather, but I'm good. I want to thank the guest, Jeneen. Mm-hmm. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you.
I have a lot of questions. But I'm just going to ask you this question. How did you, I'm assuming you suffered PTSD as a result of everything you endured. How did you get through that? How did you deal with it?
How did I deal with it, and how am I coping with it now? Also, by writing the book, I went through a lot of PTSD as well. Never on any kind of medication for this. I went through therapy with a counselor since the age of 17 when I left home. That helped. I write. That helped. Nutrition, exercise helps me, and everybody is different. Mm-hmm. There's also nurture versus nature. I'm more nurture. So I feel like with nurture, I can, again, everybody is so different. I feel like I can fix myself. So I feel that when I do things that are productive, like writing books, helping survivors, that helps me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean I don't get angry. I definitely do have anger issues, especially when I wrote the book. That did